protect judicial officers scales second reading in the House of Representatives. House receives presidential request to increase 2025 budget to 54.2 trillion naira. And President Bola Tinubu declines assent to Newman University bill. Thank you for joining us on You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as welcome. A bill seeking to shield 7 judicial officers from prosecution by the Code of Conduct Tribunal has passed second reading in the House of Representatives. Sponsored by a federal lawmaker, Bob Solomon, the proposal sparked debate on the House floor before being referred to the Committee on Anti-Corruption for further legislative review.
The bill proposes amendment of Sections 20 and 24 of the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act to forbid the prosecution of a judicial officer before the tribunal unless such judicial officer has been validly removed from office through processes captured in Section 292, subsection 1 of the Constitution. The debate among lawmakers bordered on whether the bill will checkmate the Code of Conduct Tribunal or provide further immunity for public office holders.
When a president weaponized or repurposed the tribunal to remove a sitting chief justice of Nigeria, this bill is meant to cure that.
If you ask any judicial officer not to be allowed to appear before the Code of Conduct, you're already inhibiting process of judicial adjudication.
It is because of political manipulation that we must exclude judicial officers from being tried in the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
Before a judge is put to trial or to the tribunal, there are administrative procedures through which judges are tried by the NJC. And I don't think I've seen a judge that is taking the Code of Conduct and removed on the ground of that. So I don't know, it amounts to trying to give immunity to the back door. What is not clear is what is going to be the role of the NJC in trial of a serving judge before sacked if found guilty.
We must do everything to protect our judiciary. That is the hope of the common man. Not to give the judicial officers any immunity, but trying to streamline the process in accordance with the provisions of Section 292 of the Constitution.
To address environmental degradation faced by oil-producing communities, the House asked the federal government to reject divestment applications of international oil companies with outstanding liabilities.
Allowing IOCs to divest without accountability will jeopardize the future of the Niger Delta, undermine Nigerian sovereignty, and burden the Nigerian people with the economic and environmental cost of cleanup.
Lawmakers sought relief for farming communities affected by flood in Kwara State.
Urgent need to investigate abrupt opening and the release of water from the Kainji and Jeba Dam, leading to a flood of about 5,000 hectares of rice plantation in Edumoro and the Patigi local government.
Meanwhile, the House assures Nigerians of due process in the consideration of 31 proposals so far received for the creation of new states.
The committee has reviewed the proposals for the creation of new states in accordance with Section 8, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
24 bills scaled first reading at Thursday's plenary, including the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act Amendment Bill 2025.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are taking a tough stance on substandard products in Nigeria. The House has now adopted a motion to declare a state of emergency on the issue, covering food, drugs, and other goods flooding the market. The motion was moved by Mukhtar Tolani Shagaya, who represents Ilorin West and Asha Federal Constituency in Kwara State.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion on the urgent need to declare a state of emergency on the proliferation of fake and substandard goods, drugs, and food in Nigeria. The House notes the alarming increase in the production, importation, distribution of fake and substandard goods, drugs, and food and beverages across Nigeria, which poses significant threats to public health, national security, and economic stability. The House also notes that the World Health Organization, WHO, and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration
Chief Whip,
and Control,
please approach the chair. Chief Whip.
NAFDAC, have recently warned that Nigeria is one of the most affected countries in the world by counterfeit medicines, contributing to thousands of avoidable deaths annually. My prayers, sir. Number one, urge the federal government to strengthen the capacity of regulatory agencies, particularly NAFDAC and the Standards Organization of Nigeria and the Nigeria Customs Service, by providing adequate funding, modern equipment, and advanced technology for effective surveillance, detection, and enforcement. Two, also urge the federal government to establish a special task force comprising security agencies, regulatory bodies, and the judiciary to fast-track investigations and prosecution of individuals and businesses involved in counterfeiting. Three, further urge the Attorney General of the Federation to propose amendments to existing laws with a view to imposing stricter penalties, including life imprisonment, for those involved in production and importation of fake drugs, and significant fines for businesses found guilty of dealing in counterfeit goods. Number four, direct the House Committees on Health, Commerce, and Industry to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the prevalence of counterfeit products and propose legislative measures to address regulatory gaps. And fifth and finally, mandate the House Committees on Legislative Compliance, Committees on Customs and Excise, Committee on Health, and the Committees on Commerce to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, I so move.
At last Wednesday's plenary in the Green Chamber, President Bola Tinubu's request to increase the 2025 budget to 54.2 trillion naira was formally presented on the floor. Now the House has since referred the proposal to its Appropriations Committee for further consideration.
The President's request for an addition of 4.5 trillion naira to the 2025 budget estimates was welcomed by lawmakers for consideration by the Appropriation Committee, irrespective of observations by the House Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is that budget being presented to Parliament does not come by way of a letter. That is the essence of the objection. It comes under Section 83 of the Constitution, where the President will lay before Parliament income and expenditure projection, which has been done earlier. And so, what we got today as a letter, I don't know where to classify it. The procedure might not be right. It is not just an addendum. If we have additional revenue for last year, my dear colleagues, recall that the 2024 budget is still running and has not been completed. And we are still crying for funds to fund the 2024 budget. And that is one of the reasons why we had to extend the lifespan. So if we have additional fund, there are places to apply it, and it will still be to the credit of the country. And if we are 2025, we project that we are going to get additional revenue, it is for us to look at the budget, apply it properly, and send back to the executive.
Thank you.
It is not by way of this letter and expression of where these funds should be applied.
Thank you.
So that's why budget can come for 4 trillion. By the time we conclude our work, we are sending back a budget of 5 trillion because we expect additional revenue. But the process and procedure that we are adopting today is completely strange to me. It does not fall anywhere under either our constitution or the rules of the House.
Those in support that this be referred to the House Committee on Appropriations, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes, as you can see visibly, has it.
The House, however, frowned at indiscriminate linking of national identification numbers of some citizens with strange telephone numbers. Lawmakers say this is a privacy and data breach by telecom service providers, which should be investigated.
Consequences of this unauthorized data linking includes identity theft, financial fraud, and other forms of cybercrime,
that have become rife in Nigeria lately. This House resolves to urge the Nigerian Communications Commission to investigate these reports and take immediate actions against any telecom service provider found to be culpable in this practice.
The House also sought protection of some oil-producing communities in Ondo State from ravaging sea incursions.
We need to declare the sea-ravaged and submerged oil-bearing communities of Ayeto, Rawoye, Mulitayi, Abereke, and others in the largest of the federal constituency of Ondo State as disaster zones and national emergency, with hundreds of homes and properties destroyed, resulting in the displacement of indigenous of the communities in their thousands.
Meanwhile, a House Committee on Southeast Development Commission has been formally inaugurated to drive development in the region.
This committee has been constituted to address regional disparities and lay the groundwork for sustainable national development.
It's not just about policy monitoring. It is also about improving the lives of millions of people.
President Bola Tinubu has refused to sign into law the bill seeking to establish the Federal University of Education, Newman, Adamawa State, a bill passed by the National Assembly last year. Now, in a letter read on the floor of the House by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, the President pointed to errors in the bill, including a wrong allocation of presidential powers in Section 22 as reasons for withholding assent.
I'm declining assent to the bill due to the following reasons. A. Section 22 of the bill accords the authority to consent to the disposal of land to the governor and not the president, as ought to be the case in respect of land belonging to a federal government entity in the case of universities. 2. The word status is spelled as status in items 13 and 15 under arrangement of sections. 3. Prepositions of is omitted between the word award and degree in section 25(4) sub B, and the phrase 1/3 is spelled as 1/3 in Article 4, subsection 3 of the third schedule to the bill.
Meanwhile, lawmakers in both the Senate and House of Representatives observed a minute silence in the adjourned plenary in honor of the late Deputy Chief Whip, Adewumi Onanuga, who passed away on January 15th. She was remembered as the only female principal officer of the 10th Assembly and a former chairman of the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development in the 9th Assembly.
We give glory to God for her life and the legacies she left behind. She impacted a lot on our community, and everybody has good words to say about her.
Senate notes that Honorable Onanuga's resilience and exemplary leadership in championing her legislative advocacy and activism, most particularly in the promotion of gender equality, had left an enduring legacy as far as women participation in politics is concerned.
She was a strong lawmaker, creative, innovative, courageous, capable, and unbowed, even in the face of adversity.
We will miss her not only in Parliament, not only in her constituency, but also all the females in this country. We are mourning her right now.
The lawmaker representing Onitsha North and Onitsha South, Emeka Idu, has raised concerns over poor inmate registration in Nigeria's correctional facilities. To curb jailbreaks, he is therefore pushing for biometric capturing devices in all centers. You and your reps engaged the legislator on his motion.
The bill on the need to provide this biometric capturing device is purposely to capture inmates if they are coming into the correctional center. Because the problem we normally have is that when a person is to be admitted into the correctional center, they will use ordinary book to register the person, maybe the name, the offense you have committed, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, the person is admitted. But the data and everything is at the headquarters before transferring the person. Like in our nature, you have their headquarters at Oka, maybe from Oka. Even some people will come in without any data of the person. The data they have is what has been written at that correctional center. So what we are saying is that if this biometric capturing device is mounted in all the correctional centers, wherever you have it, so that immediately the person is coming and he will be scanned. After the scanning, he goes in there, thumbprinting, taking the photograph of the person, so that even if there's any jailbreak and people run away from the correctional center, they flee away, it makes it so easy to even get the person because the face is there, the thumbprint is there, it makes it easy to capture the person. And if they know that immediately you run away from that particular correctional center, initially it was called Nigerian prisons, and even if you escape, the next minute you are caught. That's not even the way. So it will also decrease, jail break and all those things. So when the motion came in today, it has one amendment. The amendment was that we use solar biometric capturing device. They said the amendment was let it be electricity, solar capture device, so that even if there's electricity, it will be workable. If there's no electricity and electricity power supply, then the solar takes over. But normally, the type of electricity we have in Nigeria. You have light here, the next minute there's no light. Coming to your bank, small time they tell you there's no light, the generator that powers it. But you have a high-powered solar system, managed 24 hours. So anytime any person is to be admitted into the correctional center, such biometric capturing device will be on to get the capture of that particular person.
If you've ever wondered how lawmakers maintain order and structure during debates, the answer lies in standing orders. Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, explains that these are the official rules that guide parliamentary proceedings. Let's hear from him.
The term standing orders in every parliament around the world is a document that contains the rules that the assembly has set for itself to guide its operations. The 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, states clearly that the parliament would operate, the National Assembly, the State House of Assembly, the Houses of Assembly, the councils, in the 774 councils of the country, they will operate as provided for in the Constitution and as contained in the rules that they make for themselves to guide their operations and carrying out their functions. So in many parliaments, it's usually called the standing orders that contain the rules for running parliament, from basic things like election of the presiding officers, committees and their functions, debates and how to conduct debates, the process of bill making. All of these are part of the standing orders of any parliament. And in most parliaments around the world, including Nigeria, at the beginning of the legislative session of that very assembly, take the 10th assembly that we are in right now in Nigeria, the government, the executive, the president begins by proclaiming the inauguration of the assembly. At that first sitting, they operate based on the standing orders of the immediate past Parliament. But thereafter, they have a right to amend that standing order for their own operation during their own time. And during the course of their tenure, they can amend and re-amend as they deem necessary. For instance, in the 10th Assembly today in Nigeria, we are currently using the 11th edition of the standing orders. That's what we are using currently. That will tell you how many times it has gone through amendment. It contains all the rules, the duties of the presiding officers, the principal officers, the procedure, the conduct in Parliament, particularly during sittings. And then it discusses how to debate motions, enact laws, the process of bill making, and then it lists all the committees and their functions. Those are the kind of things you will find in the standing orders of any parliament. And it's usually held in high esteem, and everything done in parliament is usually according to the rule book, the standing orders.
And that wraps up this week's edition of You and Your Reps. Until next time, I am Victor Azo. Thank you for watching.